Welcome back to Typically Unique. This is part 2 of our funny stories that we have from the hospital. Some funny and lighthearted ones. When we left off last episode, we were talking about the tournaments that Aiden had.
Yes, and thank you, Pocahontas. But I want to talk a little bit about, so we had that one foosball tournament that, I got a little carried away with. And we started doing other ones. So I started building a bunch of brackets. The child life specialists started helping try to recruit other people to come in and join some of the tournaments based on, what they were interested in doing. So if it was a video game like Mario Kart at the time, if they played that, we did those tournaments. If it was foosball, so just doing some things, try to make it fun. We would go to each patient's room and tell them that it was their turn to play. So, there was a little buzz going on the floor, for something that Aiden helped develop. And after we did a couple tournaments, he's like, we should have like a traveling trophy for these tournaments. And so we thought, hey, let's ask the child life specialist if maybe they could buy one or something. And Aiden actually suggested of making one. And this is what he came up with.
Yeah, she jumped all over that.
Yeah.
She was looking for ways to connect with him.
Anything you could do craft-wise, the child life specialist was there. But this kind of abstract V for victory, I guess. And then there was like a little nameplate here. There was like a little whiteboard. We could wipe the name off and either put the person's name on it, and then when the next tournament started, we'd wipe this off and bring this to the next.
Hold it close.
Yeah, there you go. So
it's like aluminum foil base on the bottom, but it's all solid.
Yeah, and this was the trophy that he made, and I was the first official winner of the trophy, but I think it ultimately ended up with Aiden at the end, so that's why he ended up taking it home. So I thought that was kind of neat that he was involved in that. He didn't do a lot of those things, but when he was focused on something like that, he would do it. The trophy, the brackets would be out on big chart paper, and we would write in everybody's name. So we would watch the tournament as it went along. So he would always, take his IV pole, walk out of the room, and kind of see who won the next round and who he'd be facing in the next round. So he really enjoyed that.
And these tournaments weren't just the kids; these were like the kids and all their dads.
Yeah, or moms if they wanted to join. But
it was mostly the dads.
Yeah, mostly the dads. And it's funny because one of the couples, families that we kind of made friends with. We had talked about in a previous episode, the mom who was rocking the baby. The very first time we walked in, and that baby just crying all the time, and her just always being on the bed rocking that baby. And Kim got to know her really well. I got to know the husband, who was he was in the military, maybe still in the guard unit or something, or in some type of active duty still.
Something.
And he was doing recruiting and stuff, and but he had done some military service. And one of the tournaments that were coming up was the I think Call of Duty tournament that Aiden was just all about that.
Yep.
And Aiden liked to talk a little trash now and then, about, hey, I know how to play these games, I'm pretty good, you have no chance. Well, the military father came over and he says, hey, I'll be in this tournament, and Aiden started getting in on him a little bit, you have no chance, good luck. And he's like, look, I'm in the military. This is what I do for a living. I'm a professional. There's no chance you're winning this tournament. And Aiden kind of side-eyed him a little bit and kind of looked over and said, you're a recruiter, not a shooter.
And Carlos was like, oh my God, I can't believe you just said that.
I fell on the floor. because I wanted to be respectful, but I fell on the floor.
But the guy, he took it very well.
Yeah, he took it very he's like, just kind of shook his head and slowly backed out of the room, right? But I thought it was, just Aiden kind of being Aiden a little bit there. And I thought that was kind of funny. But so Aiden would spend a lot of time, we were stuck in the room, sometimes, but Aiden really wanted to go to the game room, and then a lot of the kids would go to bed early. So Aiden would stay up later, right, and go to the game room a lot. And so Aiden wasn't really feeling good this one day, but he wanted to practice, right? He wanted to practice to make sure he could win these tournaments and stuff. And a lot of the games that we had were our own, right? That Aiden was pretty proficient in.
Right. They weren't shared. We weren't borrowing them they were ours that we brought from home.
Right.
He would take to the game room and he would share, but still you don't want to leave things laying around to get destroyed or things like that.
So we had kind of put, so Aiden has this big IV pole that goes with him everywhere. And on the bottom are some hooks. So what we did is we put a tote bag.
One of my teacher totes.
There you go.
And it would fit a PlayStation perfectly inside of it.
So we would put the PlayStation inside the tote. He would hang the tote onto the IV pole.
Yep.
He would walk down to the game room with this. And then when he was done, he would keep the game in there, but just take the wires out and hook them up and stuff like that. But when he was done, he could just undo the wires, put it in the bag,
shove them in the bag,
and then walk back down with the IV pole. So it's a pretty quick change type of thing. He could do it pretty fast.
Yep.
But he really wasn't feeling well this day, and but he wanted to practice. And so I went down to check on him, and he said, Dad, I'm not feeling too well. And I said, hey, look, I go, if you're not feeling well and if you need to throw up or go to the restroom or anything, if you start feeling it, leave. Don't wait till the last minute, because he's the king of the last minute, right? He'll just wait till the last minute. I don't know where he gets that from, the king of the last minute, but
I'm the last minute queen.
Yeah. But so he, would wait, and I said, look, don't wait, because you don't want to leave your game down here. And last time you left down here, some other kids started playing it. They were playing it a little too rough. You got,
He got irritated.
He got irritated, so that's why we made this little tote for him, right? So he's down in the game room. I check in on him. He's like, I'm not feeling that well, but, I got to practice for this tournament, right? So he's playing Call of Duty or whatever it was. So I'm back in the room. He's been down there for a half hour after he was saying he wasn't feeling that well. So I'm back in the room, and I'm actually in the middle of the room. I'm actually doing some work stuff on my computer, trying to get some things done with a little bit of quiet time that I had. So I'm trying to get some work done. This is late at night, before we went to bed. And all of a sudden, the door just burst open, totally shocked me, scared me back in my seat. And it's Aiden, and he's hunched over. He's like, I got to go to the restroom. He burst open the bathroom door, and it stays open. And he's hunched over, and he's just like sweaty and pale. And he goes to sit down on the toilet. And the moment he took his pants off to go to the restroom and kind of squatted to sit down, an explosion happened, of which I have never seen in my life. And it was everywhere. The literal south side of the bathroom was covered in poop. It was horrific. And it was the shower, it was the toilet, it was the sink, it was the mirror, it was covered. It was like
TMI, we know, and potty humor, but this is the kind of situation that it happens, and
we have to deal with.
Maybe not funny at the time, but looking back on it all these years later, yes, embarrassing, but still a funny story.
And so Aiden's just at this point just standing there, because He did what he had to do. It just happened to be against the south wall, and he's just standing there. And I'm at the threshold of the bathroom at this point, like, oh my God, what do we do? So I go back, I hit the nurse's button, and we just so happen to have like baby wipes and stuff like that, right? Because
things we accumulated along the way because we needed it for something.
I don't remember. And I couldn't put him in the shower, to take a shower because the shower was covered. The shower curtain, it was just a mess.
I always missed these. The bloody nose I wasn't there for. This I wasn't there for.
So Aiden's like standing there. So the nurse comes in, an oh my God moment, right? She calls some people. Literally a biohazard team came into the room, like 3 or 4 people. Actually in biohazard suits practically, with the mask, with the little breathing.
Yeah, you'd have to, yeah.
And they start cleaning the bathroom, thank goodness. I'm cleaning Aiden with baby wipes, because that's...
And his clothes, changing everything.
Yeah,
just changing everything.
Pulled his clothes up. I threw him in like a garbage bag or something.
Get rid of the slippers. Get rid of the socks.
Get rid of everything. So, and he's still hooked up to the IV pole. So I have to be careful. I still have to wipe him off. All this stuff. So I finally get him cleaned up, change his clothes. He comes back, near his bed. He's sitting on the end of the bed and he goes, whew. He goes, hey, I feel better now. I'm going to go back to the game room and just practice a little bit more. Is that all right? And I said, so I looked at him dead in the eye. I said, Aiden, yes, you can go back to the game room. I'll help you come in, set it up. So we go back down to the game room. He's nice, clean, fresh. The biohazard team is still working in the bathroom. And I tell him, I say, look, if you feel anything, don't wait till the last minute. Come back to the room, come back early. He's like, yeah, I know. You told me you were right, but he's kind of looking past me. He wants to start playing his game. I said, okay. I said, just come back to the room if anything happens. So I go back to the room, I'm finishing off what I'm doing because now I just, the people are about to leave. I'm finishing off what I'm doing. The biohazard team leaves, everything's changed and clean. I'm settling. I'm finishing up, a few emails or something. Boom, the door burst open again. I'm like, you're kidding me. He runs into the bathroom.
He was not kidding. He in fact, was not kidding.
Yeah, he runs into the bathroom again. Tries to sit down. Exact same thing happens. Twice.
I would have been mortified. Oh my God.
I was like, Aiden, what are you doing? He's like, I'm sick. I
remember
can't.
This is effects of chemo.
Yeah,
So, God bless him. Like, you just can't. And I know it's embarrassing and everything, but I mean,
he would hate to hear this story.
We're not saying it to embarrass anybody, but it's just real life. These things happen, He's a teenage kid. And he's just wanting to play his video games. And these are the stories we have.
So after that, I get him cleaned up again. I get all his clothes put in a bag. Now he's almost out of clothes, right? Because it was probably closer to the end of the week, and we did laundry once a week. So now I have to go down and do laundry because he burned through 3 sets of clothes.
Yeah, and another resource
in a couple minutes.
There,
yeah,
like washer dryer right down the floor
right.
that you could use.
So I'm like, look, you're going to bed. You're staying in here. We'll put something on TV, but you need the bathroom to be 2 feet away from you, not 20 yards. Yep. So I go down, I start doing some laundry. He's laying in the bed. And I wait until the biohazard team is done before I go down and do the laundry. And
that poor team.
I'm apologizing profusely. And they were like, we've seen it before. It's happened. Not twice in a half hour.
Right.
But we've seen it before. And so there would be some times that, we would let Ada go to the game room. Sometimes he was confined to his room, whether he was on room arrest or it was quiet time. So we were always trying to find, some things for him to do in the room. And
especially when you get confined. So if he
Yeah.
was having that stomach issue, they would have told him to stay in the room.
yeah, which I think they should have done the first time.
Right.
But I think they cut him a break. And then after the second time, he was under room arrest.
Right.
So we were stuck in the room, and, we just tried to find ways, he and I, to
Still trying to make it fun.
still trying to make it fun. But I think Kim mentioned in one of the previous episodes that we would make bets on
The vitals.
the vital signs, like what was his temperature, what was his oxygen level, blood pressure, just stuff like that, and we would make bets. And, it was just kind of football season started too. So, we would bet on football games, and I would be, I'd always pick like the dog, whoever was not supposed to win. I'd be like, oh, I think the Cleveland Browns are going to win against the New England Patriots, right? And, I would bet him like a candy bar.
Sorry, Browns fans.
Yeah, to $1 bill or something, and Aiden would clean my clock, on betting, but it gave him a reason to like watch the game. Hopefully he doesn't turn into a gambleaholic or
Start a
something.
problem.
But that was just another way that we try to, make it fun. And, betting was one of those things, just so if there was something on TV, he would have an interest in it, a bit beyond just.
But it
watching a
became
football
this
game.
thing, and one of the things that they would try to win were somehow candy bars got involved. And I don't know. Usually that's not something we weren't usually having around, but it got to the point where I was having to like order a case of like
Paydays.
Hey, can you order a case of these candy bars? I mean, just funny and ridiculous.
Because that was our currency up
That
there.
was the currency,
That was the
yep.
currency that we used. So, and it was a treat for people too, And
when Aiden won them, he had a stockpile, and so then he handed them out to people, and it just became another icebreaker for him. So even though it seems like a silly thing to do, it can lead to some positive outcomes like that. So,
and I think at this point, I kind of want to introduce, and maybe we could talk about them more in later episodes, but I want to introduce two people because Aiden was very, he wasn't very social. I think in things that he wanted to do, like the tournaments, he would be social in that regard. Otherwise, he wasn't very social. He didn't speak to a lot of people, didn't talk to a lot of people about what was going on with him. He kept a lot of things inside.
not to initiate it. He wouldn't initiate it, but if someone joined him in his activity, I think he was more communicative. But
no, not really. He was. There was a couple people that we're going to introduce that he was, but if other people initiated those conversations, he was not. He would not.
No,
have
right.
He would not have those conversations. You know, occasionally, like, if there was some kids that were talking about similar things that they were going through, he would have that conversation.
Yes.
But feelings,
yeah, that was my
emotions,
point. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, feelings, emotions, he would never share that, rarely share that. Even with us, sometimes he would be, that's annoying, or, that I don't like that, But he made a connection, and we talked a little bit about it previously, that there was a nurse's station outside of our room. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of activity during normal working hours, but Ada was kind of a night owl. So when things got a little bit boring, and there weren't a lot of people around, he would go out to this nurse's station, which was basically just one person kind of sitting there the whole time. We'll call her Stacy. Mm-hmm. So Stacy was at this nurse's station. She wasn't a nurse. She was just, an administrator, or, did administrative duties for the floor. And kind of like the business manager of, the patients and what was going on. You could always ask her, hey, what's happening over there? What's happening over here? And she was no nonsense. She was kind of, I think the kids were in a very scary situation, right? And nurses would talk about medical things. Doctors would talk about medical things. PCAs would talk about medical things. Stacy would be like, "You're hair's a mess, or,
Right.
you look frumpy today.
She kept it real.
She kept it real. And Aiden just loved that. He loved that little sense of normalcy with Stacy, who just was completely, I mean, it was like you weren't even at Rainbow Babies and Children's. You were at, kind of a neighborhood gathering, and one of our neighbors was telling some funny stories, or, teasing each other, or, just.
Yeah, a lot of teasing.
Yeah, but it was just so, it just felt natural. It felt, so he actually opened up a little bit. And then we kind of introduce, and let's call him Matt, right? So there was a father of another patient who was, he used pretty fruity language.
Colorful language.
Colorful language. He was definitely street smart, if I could say something like that. Very tall, so big, intimidating person.
Big personality,
big,
tall guy.
Loud, boisterous.
Fun.
And, I don't swear. Not that we haven't heard that in our household before, but I don't swear. And I haven't told a joke since the mid 1980s. I tell funny stories, but I don't tell a joke, right? So I think I was woke before woke was a thing. But so in our house, I didn't use colorful language, but it was every other word with this guy. And Aiden was just like, holy smokes.
First he was shocked, and then I think he was like intrigued, like, ugh.
Yeah, wow, what is this, right? And this Matt was just super real, right? He was just to the point, no sugarcoating anything, just like Stacy. And these two people, Aiden really latched onto. He ended up building a really nice relationship with Matt's son, which we'll talk about in a future episode, and really had a great relationship with Stacy. And we would have probably late at night, we would go out to the nurse's station and sit there and just talk for 2-3 hours before Aiden would finally go to bed. And it was the gathering place at night.
Yes. Just to go out there. Everybody else is sleeping. It's quiet. It's not the normal bustle of the day. There's just very few staff members. So it was just quiet, dim lights. And
always the lights were down.
Real conversations happened at that time. And yeah.
And to even talk about that a little bit more, those real conversations were deep. Even for a 12, 13-year-old kid, right? I mean, they were deep. And Aiden at sometimes would say, quit sugarcoating stuff with me. Tell me exactly what's going on. And Matt definitely would, right? And, Stacy would help, facilitate those conversations, even when we started talking about things that most kids shouldn't probably have those conversations about and hear, she would facilitate that, hey, how does that make you feel? Is this something we should talk about? Do you want to leave this for tomorrow? I mean, I don't know what type of training this woman had. I don't know, if this was just on the job training or she went to school for this, but she was excellent at her job. And I don't know if
it was her personality.
I don't know if Rainbow Babies and Children knew the diamond that they had
truly
sitting at that desk.
Truly.
Right?
Yep. She was like my saving grace because she would say it to me too. Because I didn't come out of the room. Everybody was afraid of me because I was mean to everybody and just complained about everything. And I hate that now looking back on it. But when I get scared, I just know that's the way I act. But she just when I finally did come out and start talking to her, and I would maybe make a comment like that, oh yeah, I was great. She'd be like, yeah. Yep, you were. Yep.
yeah, they're mad at you. Yes.
Yep.
But she would do it in a way that, all right, what can we do to, make it better? And if that makes you feel better, Kim, then stick with it, right? Because you're going through this.
Yeah.
They're at their job, you are living a life event. And if you need that to relieve the pressure or the frustration, she would have those conversations with Kim. And sooner than later, I mean, you ended up at the nurse's station, probably more than she typically would have been there. So,
oh yeah, because it was just so inviting, and then it wasn't. Yes, it would be serious and those things like that, but it would be hilarious too at times because Matt that we were talking about was from the local area, so he was close to home. So he would come and go, and he would come back with some stories of what had been going on, or he'd come back just in a really great, happy mood, and
didn't hide it why he was in a great, happy mood either.
No hiding, and nobody was really upset about it, and he'd kind of get the party started out at the nurse's desk, when everybody was out there late at night. So
and would be as docile as, hey, I'm going to bake some cookies for people on the floor.
Yeah.
I mean, It was just two extremes. And, we kind of built that nucleus, that foundation, that bond.
Yeah.
And I think that this is, at least for this portion of the story, I think kind of sets up like, we're into it full boogie now. We've established our routine. We've taken stock and advantage of some of the amenities. We've been able to turn a completely gloomy situation and try to have some fun, and comfort in that. And it's just sad that there are some really dark, dim days ahead in this story, but not sure if we'll go there next, but maybe we'll just keep it a secret as to what our next episode will be about.
Well, on our next episode, we are going to talk about what it was like leading up to getting to go home, because we've gone through this, whole first cycle of treatment, and what we dealt with that. And so what was it like to get to some of those happy days, and what was it like when we got to spend time at home? So we will see you on the next episode for that. Bye.
Good job, baby.